Welcome to the Animation Industry Podcast. My name is Terry, and my neighbor's kid is running around their apartment, so I hope you can't hear them yelling and stomping in this intro. This chat is with studio owner and stop motion animator Kyla Atlas, who shares how she got into stop motion, co-founded her studio See You on the Moon, and worked on Ultra City Smiths earlier this year. Now, besides all these cool facts, some even cooler facts are that she's a youngest child, prefers corn chips to potato chips, and is very good at euchre, but very bad at frisbee. Also, surprise, I'm not the only one interviewing Kyla in this episode. I got my good friend and former Ultra City Smiths colleague, Nicole Honderich, to join me too. Now, like I just said, Nicole also worked at Stoopid Buddies with me earlier this year. And right now, she's currently developing a kids show as we speak, and she is an oldest child. Now, before we dive into this episode, it is sponsored by my good friends at Hue, makers of colorful, affordable USB cameras and animation software for creative teaching, work, and play. Available from HueHD.com and Amazon, the new Hue HD Pro camera features 1080p image and video resolution, a built-in microphone, and LED lights. Hue's funky, flexible plug-and-play cameras are easy to use, and they are compatible with any apps that recognize USB cameras, including Discord, Dragonframe stop-motion software, OBS, Twitch, Google Meet, Zoom, and many more. In fact, if you go to YouTube and watch my interview with Kyla and Nicole right now, I'm actually using a Hue HD camera as my webcam, so you can see what it's like firsthand there. Now, visit HueHD.com for more information and follow at Hue Cameras on Instagram or Twitter for news, freebies, and giveaways. I've included all these links in the description of this chat, so please go check them out because they have been amazing supporters of this podcast over the years. So now, without further ado, let's jump in. Hello, Kyla. How are you? And Nicole, how are you both doing?
Hello. I'll go first. I'm good, thanks.
Okay.
Great.
Nicole, why are you here? Tell me why you're here.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm also good. I'm also doing quite well. And I'm here to also ask Kyla some questions.
Why though? Why? Why is this like...
I'm really nosy.
Yeah.
I
I was like, I'm going to interview Kyla. I was talking to you about this and you're like, oh, can I interview her too?
Yeah, that's what I did. That's exactly how it went.
So here we are.
Flattered.
So why don't Kyla, why don't you just like, what are you? Why are you here? Why are we talking? Give me like the little bit of a lowdown on who you are.
Oh God. I'm Kyla. I do really, that's a hard question to answer. I'm a person.
Okay. But like, okay, so we just worked on a production together at Stoopid Buddy where
That's true.
Yeah, we were both animators in Ultra City Smith, and I wanted to like, you know, and you also own your own business on the side, stop motion based business. So I wanted to chat about that. So we're going to chat about it, but also Nicole, you were working on the production with us too. And now we're all here. Look at us. We're just,
Look at us. Just a oldest child, middle child, and youngest child.
Yeah,
we should not say who's who.
Oh, yeah.
You can like guess.
And then we'll reveal at the very end.
Yeah, that we're all related.
All right, if you're listening, one of us is an oldest child, one of us is a middle child, and one of us is a youngest child. And at the end, we will divulge. Is that the right word?
Sure.
Who we are. And hopefully, if you listen to this whole thing, you'll get it right, I guess. Okay, but Kyla, like, you know, before you were working on Ultra City Smiths with the two of us, and you were, you know, you're co-owner of this business. Like, what if, you know, a relative at a family picnic walks up to you and they're like, oh, what do you do for work? Like, what do you say?
Now I will say that I'm a stop motion animator, which is a great answer because most of the time it comes with zero follow-up questions because people don't really know what that is. Like, oh, that's nice. And then they'll move on. But it took me a really long time to get there. For so long, I did not know how to answer that question because I sort of felt like a fraud because I didn't go to school for this or anything. So it's hard to, I don't know. It just took a long time. It took a long time to get to the point where I was confident saying, I am a stop motion animator, but I'm here now.
Are you going to continue saying that, do you think, now? Or like, now that you've, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Why didn't you feel confident saying that before? Because you were stop motion animating.
Yes. I think it was such a gradual incline to get to the point where I was working on this show that really it was just a such a learning curve the whole time leading up to this, really leading up to the training before the show, that I don't know, I just didn't ever feel like I was really doing it right. Even maybe I was, but I'm also a terrible salesperson for myself, which you will learn throughout this interview. So that's certainly a part of it.
So did working on this show kind of give you more confidence in
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, okay, let's dial things back a bit. Where did things begin for you? Because you said there was a big learning curve and, like to get to this point. So take me back to when you decided you wanted to do animation or just a creativity with your life professionally. Because that's like a really big, decision to be like, I'm not going to work at office business job or I don't know, like mechanic. I'm going to be a stop motion animator.
Yeah. Okay, well, it began, I don't know, maybe 10-ish years ago. I had my good friend of the time, who's now my good friend and business partner, Jess. On weekends, we always did these pretty silly photo shoots. I don't know, anything somewhat creative we could get our hands on, like putting gemstones all over our faces and taking photos of each other, or very silly makeup. I don't know, dressing up, whatever, any of these things. And then, I guess sort of side story, when I was little, my oldest brother, he made a little clay man named Bill, and then he would make stop motion videos with him using a camcorder and would blow him up with firecrackers. He put firecrackers inside him, I think. And so I remember on one of the weekends that Jess and I were just playing around, I remembered this Bill character, and then we made our own little complete copycat little clay guy named Gene, and made kind of like Monty Python, the foot squashing things. We made this wooden mallard fall out of the sky and squish him and kill him.
Oh, wow.
And we were just so thrilled by the playback of that. Like, if any of you remember your very first stop motion that you shot, the first time watching it through is like a magical experience. You're like, oh, it's moving and I made that.
And I also feel like most people's first stop motion, the thing dies and like gets squished or something.
Yeah, it's a great, easy ending. And then it's over.
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah.
Death.
Anyway, so we were so happy with that we just, weekends to come. I don't really know the timeline of that, but we made another one where Gene rebuilt Gene. He was murdered again by this wooden mallard, and again and again. There are several episodes of our Gene, and then we had a friend who had their own hair accessories company. We asked her if we could make a few videos for her company. They were really fun. They worked out really well.
Oh, nice. So wait, this is with your friend Jess, and this is a photo shoot time, and you were like, maybe we should try to turn this into somewhat of a business. Like, we're doing this for fun and we think we could do this for other people. Like, why did you
Not
ask?
really yet. I don't really know how.
Like, you just thought it'd be fun to shoot this video? Like,
yeah. She has, it was very colorful, the things she was making. And we thought that I think we just wanted to expand beyond trying to work with plasticine. I don't really remember why we asked her, but for whatever reason we did. But I think it was still completely in our minds as this is a hobby. I don't think it was we ever intended to do this for a living at that point. Because we had full-time jobs, and for so long, for several years, we had full-time jobs and we're doing stop motion on the side or on weekends or evenings. But then after we worked with her, we were just really fortunate to have some friends who were in marketing, and one of our friends trusted us enough to give us a real job with a pretty legitimate client. And it was terrifying because truly we had taught ourselves everything, and with every little video we shot had learned so much. Like, I'm kind of backtracking here, but starting at the beginning with our first Gene, it was a camera that we had taped to a knife block. The angle was bad, so we cut a potato in half and shoved it in between the camera and the knife block and retaped it. We were pressing capturing the images on the phone, so it was awful. And every single project we learned so much. Like that's what I mean by the learning curve. It was like, oh, okay, we can get a remote from somebody else's phone, take the pictures from their phone, and that will make the video smoother. So much
You
learning.
have like a whole tripod made of potatoes now. Like you figured out that if you use more than one potato, you can get a better angle.
Absolutely. Yeah. We've stuck through potatoes. Actually, I'm from Alliston, Ontario, which has an annual potato festival.
Oh, it's perfect.
Oh, me, I love potatoes.
Okay, so you got your first client. It like kind of just fell into your lap almost. And then what? You're like, we just made some money maybe, and maybe we should quit our jobs and pursue this forever.
Not quit our jobs, but maybe we should keep trying to do this, and maybe we'll get some more of these. So that's just how it grew. I mean, eventually, after we had several more jobs, we went to part-time, full-time jobs and doing this, which was a huge step and very exciting for us.
What were you doing in your full-time and then part-time job? I'm just curious, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, Jess was working at an advertising agency, and I was working for my dad's roofing company, which I still work at, doing administrative work for him. So very different jobs, which was kind of nice. It's nice to have creative work, and then also, I mean, administrative work is a whole different situation. Like I don't know. It's a different day.
It's like a math mindset kind of. Was there a point where you so you haven't ever done full-time like animation up until recently then? Like See You on the Moon, was that always kind of a part-time on the side thing?
It was part-time until, I mean, when we got projects that we needed to work full-time, both of our part-time jobs were the nicest jobs to have because it just so much leniency. We could put those on hold and work full-time if we needed to, if there was a project that demanded that. But yeah, pretty much part-time up until doing the full-time training to then work on Ultra City.
So Nicole, do you want to jump in, and are there any pressing questions you have?
Oh, okay. Like there were a few that I had that kind of relate to some of the stuff that you were already talking about. Like, can you speak a bit to imposter syndrome? And like, do you still feel that? And when you were saying, hey, I can finally call myself a stop motion animator, like what was it in you that made you think, okay, it's okay for me to declare that now?
I think that was other people actually telling me to like stop other friends if they were around and anybody asked me that question. They're like, no, you just have to call yourself that now. It was advice from others to be more confident, I guess, in what I'm doing.
So then no, go ahead.
I was going to say, do you feel that internally though? Like, do you feel internally you are a stop motion animator, or is that an answer you're giving to a question that you don't know how to answer? Because there are times like I only started calling myself an animator very recently as well, like halfway through Ultra City Smiths, which I was working on for various reasons as well. Because before I was in school and I was like, well, I'm only in school, so I'm not an animator. And then I went through this whole like identity crisis where I was like, is like, I want to do all these things with my life, but am I an animator only? And if I start calling myself that, do I just become that? I don't know. So for you, how was that?
Yeah.
Internal or an external thing, or?
Definitely Ultra City helped that for sure. Because I mean, I can see from what I shot at the beginning to what I shot at the end, I became so much better. It's so easy to see the progress. And working with, I mean, it's a totally different thing when you're working on your own very small, in a tiny little company where you're doing all of the pieces. It's hard to say I'm an animator. Even applying for the job, I honestly didn't know what to apply for because Jess and I have done everything. We make all the puppets or sets, and then we set up the lighting. We do our own editing most of the time, which we shouldn't do. We did all of the jobs. So this is the first time I had a focused job where I got to get better at one thing. And that completely made me feel like, okay, now I'm an animator. So exactly the same as you. It was during Ultra City for sure.
Do you think if you instead got a job in puppet fabrication or in lighting or something, you would be like, oh, I'm a puppet fabricator instead?
Probably. I mean, I think I would. I also think I didn't know the language before this. Like I thought that I was like, I just work at a stop motion animation company, but I didn't know the separate jobs. But yeah, I guess so. I guess I would. I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting question. Would you, if you, can I ask you that question?
I don't know. I feel like I connect internally with Animator. Oh, I forgot that I need a pro account to be more than 40 minutes.
Oh.
Dang it.
Can we just restart here?
We can restart,
After?
but only
Yeah.
give us another 40 minutes. So we might have to do that, or I will just go and quickly upgrade. So bear with me. Oh, dang it. I forgot about Zoom's rules. Okay, just give me a moment.
Every once in a while.
Sorry?
Every once in a while, like if you wait for it to time out, they'll be like, here's a gift.
Really?
Yeah, and then they just give it to you. So we could just chance it and see.
Yeah, wait for that precious gift.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
I don't know, but like it's possible.
Or if it ends, we'll never speak again.
That's it.
I was going to, oh, you asked me if I was a fabricator. I think internally I connect with Animator. I think if I was like a puppet fabricator, I might say that, but it would feel temporary, I guess. Like I would still seek out and think of myself in animation versus like a lighting or sets person, even though I have to do that stuff too for my own things at home. Like I'm just like you, like doing all areas. Sorry, Nicole, did you have something to ask?
Yeah, I mean, sure. Like when you were first starting to do all this stuff, and I guess maybe some of this is answered through you just sharing a love of something with Jess, who I also know, and hello Jess if you were. But like, how did you foster a belief in yourself in the beginning? Like what motivated you without having kind of any evidence to speak to? Do you know what I mean? Like to go, yeah, I think I can do this, even though I haven't done this yet, I think I can do this anyway, and I'm gonna do it. What pushed yourself to do that?
I think a lot of it had to do with that we were a pair.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to do something. It's scarier to do something alone. Right. We were a two doing this together. So anything we did together, if we were, I don't know, pitching on a job, we did it together, and we were terrified, but we were terrified together. So yeah, that helped a ton. I don't know if either of us would have done this if we didn't have the other person.
For sure. Do you guys like motivate each other? Like if she's having her doubts, do you then give her comfort and then vice versa?
I would like to think so. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, we are still friends and we're still working together and it's still going very well. So, I mean, I think that I can't think of any examples of that, but I mean, I feel like that would have to happen naturally if to maintain something for this amount of time.
Yeah, for sure.
What is the, I'm just curious about See You on the Moon. Like how many projects, how long has See You on the Moon been around for, and how many projects are you doing in like a year? Because I just want to have some like background to like, you know, you just worked full time on a production, and I'm just wondering, like, you even felt unconfident in what to apply for, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess a quick note on that Animator was definitely the right choice. If I had applied for, I mean, seeing what the puppet fabricators do, when I went into the room, like, oh no, I don't know how to use any of these things. We're just making very different puppets. So this was the right call. I don't remember your question.
When did you incorporate or start See You on the Moon? Like how long has it been around for?
I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm very bad at timelines. I'm gonna guess 6 years.
Okay. So quite established though. And like how many projects are you doing? Like I'm just wondering, like Are you trying to
Mhm.
turn See You on the Moon into a full-time thing and like, quit your part-time jobs and then do this full-time? Or like how many projects a year are you seeking out?
Yeah, we would love for that to happen. It's so hard to say because I mean, I guess just how marketing schedules work. We work with a lot of not very small, but we work with a lot of smaller Canadian companies, and we tend to get work all at one time. If we get one job, then the next day we hear from another one and another one after that. So it's all at one time, and then we have a lull, and that just seems to be the way it works for the whole year. And I assume that's because of, I don't know, marketing has different seasons or like
Yeah,
highs and lows.
there's like Christmas and then Super Bowl and then
Sure,
Easter
yeah.
and then
Hmm.
summer and then Thanksgiving and Christmas
Yeah.
all over again.
And even if they're not geared to any holiday, that just seems to happen for
Yeah.
us, which is not, I mean, it's not always.
So how are you finding these companies in the first place? Are you actively reaching out to small Canadian businesses and being like, hey guys, we're a creative agency, here's some of our work.
Yeah.
We can work for you. Like how are you like, because finding clients as a small business or just starting up is like one of the hardest things to do.
For sure. Yeah, that's what we were doing for a long time, is just cold call, I mean, not actually calling, cold emailing for, I mean, huge laundry lists of companies that we would just research any kind of company that we liked, put it in the list, and then go through them, email, which is awful. It's a horrible part of the job, but very necessary. And now we have, I mean, we would email 20 companies and one would get back to us, and then maybe that would turn into work. And then if they liked what we did or we worked well together, then we'd get more. So now, I mean, we're super fortunate to have worked with a few incredible companies that have referred us to other incredible small Canadian companies. So that's how we've been getting work lately, or just recurring clients.
Nice. Now,
Yeah.
do you and Jess have a dream for what you want See You on the Moon to be overall? Like the type of projects you want? Like, do you want to go into series work, or is advertising your thing? Or like, do you want to grow the business and hire people? Like,
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, we've talked about all of that a lot, and we would definitely like to grow the business and gain other people, because, I mean, as simple as we're not great at every aspect of the job. Like we've learned on Ultra City, there are people who are professionals at each part of their job. So we would love to be able to have those people along, like a lighting person, an editor, just a variety of people. Also, it makes your work better when you are more diverse as a company. But yeah, what we want to be is it's a tough question. Advertising in its nature is questionable morally, ethically. So we struggle with that sometimes, but at the same time, we're working with some wonderful companies who have their own incredible like initiatives that we're happy to promote and happy to work for them, and we love them. So we're trying our very best to work for the companies that we feel good about, and that helps a lot. Yeah.
And being smaller, you can probably, if it comes down to it, you can kind of pick and choose, versus like, I'm assuming you don't have a warehouse where you have to keep the lights on and, payroll and stuff, that you have to take tons of projects to keep going.
For sure. Most of the time I was just working in the room, all during
So do
lockdown.
you do everything from your apartment, or do you have a little studio space?
We have a studio space. Yeah.
Cute.
It's a very tiny little room. It works well for us.
Like you rent it out?
Mm-hmm.
How do you find a small, tiny studio space that you can rent? Like,
my brother also works for my dad's roofing company, and he rents a space downtown, and there's a very strange little offshoot room. You go through his office to get to this little room. And he's like, no one's going to rent this little space. It's very weird. It's long and there's a staircase in it. Anyway, we'll take it. So it is cost effective and it's just one of us in there at a time. It's a perfect little spot. Also, there's a art store right next door. It's at Bloor and Bathurst, so it's like
Oh, perfect. What the heck?
incredible location.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I live very close to your studio.
Oh, come by.
Okay.
So can you just like, you rent it for the whole year? You just like have a job, you pick it up, then you stop renting it, like you rent.
We rent it for the year.
Oh, okay.
It's,
Gotcha.
They give us a killer deal, so it's okay.
Nicole, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
I did. I don't know if this is too hard hitting of a question. Am I loud enough?
Yeah,
Hello?
go for
Hi.
it.
Okay. Also, sorry about the lighting. Like, this is the only light that I have, and I still look like I'm in a cave of some kind. But
You look great.
yeah. That's what I was waiting for you to say. I was wondering if you'd ever run into any kind of like overt ethical dilemmas in terms of working with different companies and advertising for their stuff that you didn't morally agree with. Has that ever come up?
I mean, not with the content, but certainly we had a. I don't know if I should.
Yeah, I don't know whether you want to.
Do what you feel comfortable with. You know, if
Right.
it's not, you know.
I am curious if you can discreetly describe if
We
there was a
worked.
situation.
Well, there was a company that we worked for that was. It's a huge, a huge company.
Okay.
But it was right when we were starting out, and it was actually the first time we had ever been invited to a space to be stop motion animators, which we had never done, with a production crew to work on a commercial that we legitimately had no idea what we were getting into. What we were doing. But yeah, questioned that a lot. And then I think in the end, we're just very happy to have the experience, but also once we were doing this more, I realized these are not the kinds of companies that we wanted to work for.
Interesting.
That was very vague.
That's fine though. That's like a good learning experience, especially because like I said before, you kind of have some of the power to do that being smaller, where you're not, you know, committed to like keeping the lights on, where you need to take jobs all the time.
Yeah. Also, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should be taking anything we can get, but we're just, I think trying to move the company in a direction, and that is proving beneficial for us, because then the companies that we love are, I think, seeing that and then telling other companies that they love, and that's working in our favor. Whereas if we just worked for, I don't know. I don't really know if that's true. Also, maybe we just can't get the big companies, so I don't know. I don't know.
I think just like with the entertainment industry in general too, there's often moral dilemmas that are presented. Like I know when I was doing acting, sometimes my agent would be like, hey, go out for this audition for this company. And I would say, I'm not going to do that because of what they represent. But also you do have that mentality of, hey, I need to take everything that I can get, because who am I to turn things down at this point?
Right.
But
And also if you turn it down, then somebody else is just going to take it. Whereas like you have the moral values where taking it, you could turn it into something good somehow, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying, but like, does that make any sense at all?
Yeah, it's a complicated question. I don't know what I was just saying either. So
sorry. I'll never be on this podcast again. Sorry, you guys.
Nicole, what have you done?
We're not friends anymore. Oh no.
No, it's a challenge. We definitely struggle with it. And I mean, us being small, I think that attracts other small companies, because we're nimble and we're not as expensive as working with an agency. That's just it. So we can work with these little companies. So I don't know. It's hard to say what large companies we would turn down, because those ones are working through agencies, not through people like us. So.
Yeah. Do you think also that by choosing or trying to choose companies that you have values aligned with, you would do better work and more creative stuff for them anyways, because you're more excited to work with them?
Definitely. because there's also not this enormous hierarchy of people that you have to work through to get your creative ideas through this ladder, of approvals. So
Have you considered working with an agency, like partnering with a couple agencies and being like, hey, here's our work. If you ever need stop motion or type multimedia types of projects, like we're your guys.
definitely, yeah. When we were cold emailing a million people, there were agencies and straight to businesses.
Yeah.
And sometimes we work with agencies, and we have a few people that we work with that are lovely, and also we've learned lessons through a few people that weren't lovely that we realized we don't want to work with that company again. So it's yeah, I mean, lessons with animating itself, like how to improve animating through every single project we do, but also with running a business, like huge lessons that we get burned, and then we add a line into our quoting that will prevent us from being burned the next time. I don't know, tons of really, yeah.
Do you have a mentor through any of this? Like, running a business for the first time and like figuring all this out for yourself is really tough. Like what you just said, I think is a really great learning. You're burned and you added a line in the budget or whatever for next time, so you won't be burned. Like that's really important.
Yeah. I mean, my dad is a small business owner, so I've asked him a ton of questions as well. I mean, before I knew Evan, Evan went to high school and maybe grade school with Jess, so he's been our contact for some time. So yeah, we met up for coffee with him a few times well before any of the Ultra City stuff happened, just to ask him a variety of questions on how to, I don't even know, how to run a business.
Well, that was one of my big questions. Like, how do you, you're two women running a business in Toronto and like Bathurst and Bloor, and then like, the biggest stop motion production that's happened in Canada in years comes to Toronto. Like, how do you find out about it and then get hired at this place? But it sounds like Evan, who is like animation supervisor, and you had like a direct connection with him. So I'm assuming it was through him.
Direct nepotism.
He was like, hey guys, is that what happened?
Yeah, he emailed us. And I mean, I think he was emailing Jess because I don't really know him. I think he emailed Jess directly and mentioned the project, asked if we would be interested. We had a call with him. We each applied for it. Jess applied as a producer. I had applied as an animator. And I think because I applied as an animator, he mentioned that he was about to run this stop motion training boot camp for a few people. And I really snuck my way into that.
So I emailed. You
Hmm?
heard about this opportunity and you're like, I really want to do this. This is like perfect, great for me. I'm going to quit my job to take on this opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm just the luckiest person to have this part-time job with my family that I can be like,
yeah, you're like,
hey Dad. Yeah, Daddy, can I take a break from work? No, he's just
but that could go the opposite way too. He could be like, no, like family first, like you're my administrative person. Like,
for sure.
And you have to quit, and then you have to quit on your father, and like you're not speaking anymore.
Break up the family. Like, yeah. No, he's a great boss. But yeah. Anyway, so where are we going?
so I asked you, like, how did you end up finding out about this production? So Evan emailed Jess, and you guys applied as different things. You applied as an animator, and then he was like, hey, FYI, we're doing a little, like, I think it was 6 weeks. Was it 6 weeks?
Intensive. It was 5 weeks, and it was a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday boot camp that he was putting on. And I emailed him back a little while later to be like, what is this still happening? And I guess I got super lucky because I was not a part of the original 6 people that were invited to be in that. He said somebody couldn't make it. So I had emailed at the right time to hop into the class. And it was, I mean, very dramatic to say a life changer, but it was huge. It was huge for me. It was amazing. Every day I was there, I was like so excited because I learned a crazy amount during this class.
Like, what did it feel like to, because, you've been, you're in min on the side, then stop motion on the side, but doing everything, puppet, fabrication, lighting, etc. And now you're just going in, working 8 hours with like 4, 5 other, I forget how many you said, people just animating every single day, like just in the trenches. And it was the best thing.
I loved it. I really loved it.
So what did it feel like? What's going through your mind the whole time while you're animating?
I don't know, just really nerdy. Like, I'm learning so much stuff. Because I learned so much stuff. I mean, Jess and I had never shot. We didn't know what shooting on embarrassing. We didn't know what shooting on like 1s and 2s meant.
Oh, that's fine.
We would shoot every movement, and then we would edit those, like elongate a frame to be the amount of time that we wanted it to be. I didn't know how to shoot with intentional timing. As simple as that, and then also just like really as simple as Evan taught how to ease. I didn't know about how to ease properly, and I mean, he's just the best teacher too. So
So you like went to, and because like I feel the same way. Like I didn't know what easing or on 1s or 2s or whatever before I started going to animation school. Like how I used to animate is exactly the same way. I just take all the frames I wanted, and I'd be like, oh, I want this part to be quick, and then a hold and whatever, and I would just like do it on Adobe by like dragging out the frames, and I maybe took like 15 frames for like 30 seconds versus like, no, I'm taking every single frame now. So like other than, learning some of the technical stuff from that boot camp, what it sounds like you gained a lot of confidence, but like what did you learn that you took forward with you till now too? Like, you've been through that boot camp, you've been through, working on a production for 6 months intensively. Now the show's aired and you're back to business as usual. Like, it's kind of like a roller coaster journey, I guess. Overall, like what have you taken from the whole experience back to your life or business or friendships with people? I don't know.
Oh, I mean, amazing friendships, and just hey. No, like I mean, I think it's pretty rare. I mean, I had been working from home. I mean, on the friendship, this is a friendship conversation. I have been working from home for so long and had my core group of friends, and they're incredible, but there was I had no opportunity to meet new people, really. Like, I don't take a lot of classes or I don't know how people make new friends, but it's hard to make new friends when you're an adult. So that was amazing. Like, I hadn't had a job at a place that I had to go to for so long. The way Jess and I work most of the time, it's virtual, or it's not even that. A lot of the time we don't even see the people we're working with. It's all through email. So impossible to make new friends through email.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. But difficult. Anyway, so now I have this whole other new crew, and not only just friends, but a pool of creative people to learn from and work with in the future, which is wonderful.
Have you taken anything back to see you on the moon specifically? Like, do you have new ways of approaching your business now?
I'm not sure business wise. I animation wise, definitely. Like I've just started this week shooting a project for the first time, and I mean, it was a shock to be like, where is the staff to set up my lighting? Tie down anyway, you just back to doing everything yourself is a funny shock that I didn't anticipate, but also fun. But I can feel and see my patience is way greater, and also just my standard for myself for my level of work. I will take way longer to do a project than I did before working on the show.
Does that mean you're going to budget differently for clients now?
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I mean,
same great price, double the quality.
Double the labor. No, we definitely have to figure that out, because I didn't know that really until starting again. So more lessons to learn.
I'm just curious though, sorry. Like if you were getting clients and they were happy with your work before, but now you have changed,
Mm-hmm.
do you think that the clients are going to super appreciate your work now, or it's still the same value for them, or you will be able to get more work somehow by increasing the caliber of your animation? Like, what's to stop you from going back and doing things the old way, if that was kind of the formula for the success you were experiencing?
It's a good question. I have been thinking about that this week a lot. I don't think that I could go back. I think once you learn anything and you were, I don't know, I don't want to say like you get addicted to it, but you, I don't know, you become better at something. How do you
Go back to crawling after walking.
Sure, yes. It's extremely difficult to do that. Also because I don't think I would enjoy it as much. I like the level of work that I'm doing now and want to be better at it. I don't want to be worse at it.
Did you feel this? Did you feel that you could be this quality of work before you started the boot camp in Ultra City Smiths? Like, did you feel like you wanted to reach a different level of skill?
Yes. I think that we both knew that we were at a plateau and weren't really sure where to go from there. And this is just really was just the most fortunate thing to happen to us ever, that we were pushed into this space where we both in each of our, like, I mean, even with as a company, like this is the first time we both took different roles. Like we moved in two very, very different directions, and she excelled at this one thing and I was getting better at this one thing. So now we have a lot more direction than we did before, even just the two of us. Like before, Jess would shoot sometimes as well. And now she realized like this is not the path that she wants to do. She wants to do something else and maybe shoot from time to time.
Yeah. That's probably like really valuable to have somebody focusing on two people focusing on two different areas of the business to like really work it out. Nicole, I don't want to like overshadow you. You know, you saw us working every day too in the studio. Is that, you know, like from your perspective, like what do you want to ask Kyla or just in general?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, honestly, I'm just enjoying sitting here and listening to this whole thing. I don't feel like I'm being overshadowed in any way. But I mean, like, the questions that I had sort of prepared in advance are kind of breaking up the flow of everything that you guys are talking about. You can't hear me?
Yeah, speak up.
Good Lord. My MacBook is very old and it was refurbished when I purchased it. So I'm looking at myself. I'm just a head. My God.
But a beautiful head.
Yeah.
Just a great head.
I wasn't fishing, but thank you so much for saying that. I mean, I don't know. As someone who's not too well versed in the stop motion world, I guess my questions are a bit more about like I'm wondering when you're doing like your own projects versus something like Ultra City, like do you still feel like you're able to put some of yourself into it even though you're taking somebody else's vision and kind of running with that? If that makes any sense.
You mean on Ultra City because there's like somebody else's vision,
right?
Yeah, like someone's like, here, please do this for me, versus you going, I have my own idea and I'm executing it all myself. Like that's very much a you thing versus hearing someone else say, this is what I want. Like, does the process kind of change for you at all? Do you feel like you have to remove yourself a bit from it, or?
I think so. I think that, I mean, it's layered because you're sort of acting the puppets in a way. So it's in that way, it is kind of still up to you to have a bit of, put your personality into it on a show, even if somebody's directing you to do something.
Right.
But it's completely different. Yeah. Like all of the pre-production work and the ideas and all that none of that is yours. But I had never worked on a show before, so that did not, I know this wasn't the question, but that didn't bother me at all. I was extremely happy to have somebody else directing me and telling me, I don't know, it was a whole different, and I don't know. That's
So, just like I ask a question and then everyone just kind of goes, huh, okay.
no, they're good questions.
But that makes it makes total sense because you're doing something totally different. It's not like, it sounds like in your mind, not one is preferable to the other. Like, could you jump on another production right away and say like, screw you, see you on the moon, see you on the moon. I'm going back to Ultra City season 2 or whatever production, like, do you have I don't know, it's just different. I guess that's, I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
Yeah, I know they're very different.
Is there a preference? Like if you were given the choice in like a perfect world or whatever, would you prefer to take somebody else's vision and kind of run with that? Or would you rather have something that's totally your own as something that you did on a regular basis?
I think I don't know if this is sustainable long term, but having both is really great. Like having the opportunity to work at See You on the Moon and then hop onto a show, and then during the downtime of production, you hop back to this and do. I can see the benefit in having, hopefully, just holding on to both for a while.
I think you're in a really good place because like for me, I'm working on something very small right now, but like between contracts, like I got to find my own stuff. I don't have a concurrent thing that I can like jump on and be like, okay, business as usual. So I think that's really good to have that flexibility to say like, I can dial up my business or dial it down when I need to and jump on professionally driven gigs as they come up.
Yeah, it's a bit risky because you also don't want to, I don't know, we don't want to anger any of the or disappoint any of the clients that we love and we've been working with for so long and be like, we're not available for the next 3 months. So we just
my first thought was like, why not hire some, like if that happens, take on the client work anyways and then have some contacts that are like you trust to do the work, I guess. So you are keeping that.
Absolutely. And now we have such a plethora of people to work with, which is now we have these contacts, which we didn't have before, which is a huge part of like what the show gave us. It was like an enormous gift.
Sorry, here I am like jumping in to tell you about me.
Jump away, please.
I've been running this podcast for like 3 years and I've made a lot of connections from it, but I haven't made as many connections as like the first week of working at an actual production where you like instantly meet like in your close vicinity, like 45 people that are all in the industry and have experience and expertise in various areas. And then you're like friends and know each other. Like it's so easy to just suddenly know everybody and everybody's got their own gigs on the side. Everybody's like working on their own stuff. Like you just suddenly know about everything that's happening when you're part of a big team.
I think it's also being around people. It's the energy you feel that being next to a person is really different than, I don't know, than like I was saying, like emailing, making building real relationships through the internet. I don't know.
I mean, Nicole said you can make friends through email.
You can. I remember starting working on the show. One of the big things for me was like, it was just Jess and I for so long that hearing, on breaks or when you're waiting for a shot, hearing the other people talk about the difficulties with their other shots or other things that are going on, I'm like, oh my God, these people want to talk about the same thing, this thing that I've had no one to talk about, like that Jess and I've had nobody to talk about with. It was such a funny, I don't know.
We're all
funny, but also substantial change.
Yeah, we're all frustrated, like hands falling off or like, broken, whatever. And nobody else can relate to that, like anywhere. Like,
it's pretty special.
Did you feel like, boot camp really taught you a lot? Did you feel intimidated when you came on to the show? Because like I did, because there's some seasoned animators that came on, like people that have been around since like Cup of Coffee days, like worked there and like that came on just running with their shots, and here I'm like, I've never done a perfect walk cycle before. Now I have to shoot 5 walk cycles over the next 3 weeks. Like, did you feel intimidated at the beginning?
For sure. I mean, for so many reasons. For one, I was nervous about COVID and being
Yeah.
around people because I had been isolated for so long. So that was a change. But I think I adjusted to that very quickly, and that was an easy one to get over. But
So do you think if you would come on and if another production like called you up, how would you feel confidence level going in?
uh, I I don't know how to measure that, but I would certainly feel more confident, a lot more confident. If that's a terrible answer.
It's a fine answer.
It's a great answer.
Thank you so much for your support. No, I'm eager for that to happen. So I feel like even saying that I'm excited about that happening means that I'm more confident to do that. Whereas before, yeah, I was certainly nervous. I've never done anything like this before.
Yeah,
Why wouldn't I be?
So, what are you working on now these days? Like, production on a big show wrapped up. It's been a month and a half now, and I'm assuming you're back. You said client work.
Yes. Yep. Making videos for some of our beloved clients again, which is lovely. Yeah, I certainly need to update my reel to include some of the work from the show. So hopefully get on another production. That would be great. Also in the very beginning stages of mostly just research and development of potentially a class for people with teaching stop motion to people with autism.
Oh.
We had actually during the show we had a couple emails from two separate people. One was a mom who had a kid. Her son was really interested in or really liked stop motion for a variety of reasons. She gave me it made a lot of sense after she explained it. It's like a solitary activity. You can control the lighting, the sound. It can kind of, the material you use, it was just, I guess, really conducive to what he was comfortable with. And another person emailed as well. So I guess just started
Wait, two separate emails.
Yeah, which was wild. But I mean, this happens all the time. Like, this is what I mean by, I don't know what it is, if it's the universe, but we get all of our jobs all at one time. And if somebody contacts us about one thing, it seems that just,
Wow.
I don't know why.
Well, you have like an online presence, like you're on social media, you have a website, and when you type in like stop motion Toronto, like, well, I haven't done that right now, but I'm assuming you come up, right? So like,
yes, yeah.
If people are searching, they're bound to find you.
Absolutely. We thought it was interesting that there was more than
yeah.
one. It wasn't
so you're gonna create a stop motion class for children with autism.
Yeah, that's just in the very beginning stages in the works of just more like researching to see if this is something that would be beneficial, helpful, or if this is even something that people want. But yeah, it's getting working with a small crew of a variety of, I don't know, people with all different interests that are or specialties, I guess, like a teacher, somebody who a big picture thinker. This is vague and I shouldn't get into who these people are, but really it's just exciting. Like, a lot of people who are interested, really, essentially that's what it comes down to, interested in putting this together. And this mom who's very excited for her son and her son's friends to become a part of this class that could be, who knows what it'll become. I'm very excited about it because it's not only, it's something different. It's something I've never been part of a class before or facilitating a class. I don't know if I would teach the class, but it just being a part of it or putting it together, and something that could potentially help people, and that's not advertising, would be not to
yeah. I'm excited about this too, and I'm curious to see where it goes, and I hope it works out for you. I'm wondering, like you've mentioned values and advertising and a couple things concurrently. Is there like is there a path that you're heading to in your life, in what you want to do with your career specifically? Like, you've chosen something very creative, very tough to do, that, and you've mentioned your value system a bunch. Like, what is Kyla striving towards with her self, and how is it tied to the career she's creating? This is getting deep.
Yeah, big time. I mean, I suppose not always achievable, or if it's, I don't know. I would love for the financial aspect to not always be the driving force behind the choices that I make.
What would cause you to reach that?
I don't know. I guess, I mean, personal lifestyle choices, that helps a lot. If you live more simply, then you can, I don't know. It's
marry rich.
Yes, that too. Yeah. Marry a really old rich guy and then kill him with a wooden mallard. Like,
yeah. And a Nicole. How far?
Wait, now it's come around to murder?
I'm fine with this.
It always comes back to murder.
But I think what you just said is a feeling that I strongly feel as well. I would love to do things without a financial, not even just incentive, but consideration, because you want to take on projects that can feed you, but also that you are inspired to have. But then like I don't know, in order to imagine you are the best stop motion animator in the country, you get the top jobs, would you be charging an arm and a leg for your services, or would you still want to be taking on projects that you feel line up with your value system and inspire you, for instance, teaching, this teaching thing? Because then I don't know how to reach a state of I am doing things for what I love, but I am also financially driven, because it's
yes.
So tough.
It is tough. I mean, it's a balance that I don't yet think I've met.
So sometimes you got to take those big advertising agency jobs to fuel the smaller ones.
And it's a very fortunate position to be I don't have to do that anymore. It's it's, I don't know. It's a complicated question to answer, but aren't they all?
That's fine. I mean, we're all on journeys to figure this out.
Sure.
I just think it's really cool that you have this studio. And I also think it's extremely rare and valuable to find somebody like you and Jess who click together and can run a business in this such a niche industry together, and you're fueled to do it. That's so rare to find two really passionate people that get along so well. That's so valuable and rare, and I think that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Nicole, do you have any pressing matters?
I'll lean in very close. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I mean, how far ahead do you find yourself projecting into the future? I know with the nature of this industry and the entertainment industry in general, I know when I went to school, I shouldn't make this about myself, but just as an example. Okay, now that you've asked. Anytime someone would come in to be hi, I do this thing for a living, and one of us would be well, how did you get there? There was always a completely different answer. So in a sense, of course, it makes sense to think, yeah, where do I want to be 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, or whatever, X number of years. But at the same time, you don't know who you're going to meet tomorrow or on whatever project, and that could propel you in a completely different and unexpected direction. So do you resist having too much of a plan? Because right, the end.
I mean, I think that's I resist having too much of a plan in all aspects of my life. So, but I mean, it's in this specific circumstance, it's not having a particular plan has been so beneficial. It's opened, I mean, the wacky journey of all of this is, I don't know, it's not something I would ever have imagined happening before. And
Right.
I think that's essentially like the base of what I want to be 5 years from now, being like, I could never have imagined this happening before when we were talking right now.
Do you feel like that now, like 5 years ago, if you were to travel back to 5 years ago, Kyla, and to be like, hey, listen, we've done all this stuff now, would that version of you be like, oh, whoa, I had no idea that would happen?
I think so. I mean, because it began as this weird hobby that we were teaching ourselves from nothing.
From potatoes.
Yeah, from potatoes, from a half potato. Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, I I had never anticipated getting a job on a production for this. So yes, absolutely. There's no chance that I would have thought that this would become a real
Um,
choice for me.
on that note, like I was thinking about, like everybody's supposed to come up with a 5-year plan, and it's like an interview question, whatever, and nobody's actual 5 years spans out like that. And you said you don't like to plan, but so what is like the system or like the value system you're relying on that got you here in the first place? Like you've been open to opportunities, you've wanted to learn, but you're also really sticking to developing this business, and like cold calling a million clients to get one to do something with you is like a lot of work too. So it's not like, oh, I just happened to accidentally email 20 people today. Like
Yeah.
you're clearly driven towards something. And like, what is that that's driving you?
I don't know if this is a great answer, but I've never had a business before. So I've had so much to learn. I mean, I'm still learning, still definitely learning stop motion and eager to learn more. So I think that that's the driving force.
So, but why have you chosen a creative career path, and why stop motion? Like, why not?
I mean, I always wanted to have a creative career path. My mom was an artist, a visual artist, and ever since I was little, I was drawing and painting and dressing up and putting on plays for whoever would watch. And I don't know, just doing. I think I couldn't see myself doing something that wasn't.
Can I make an observation? Correct me if I'm wrong. Your mother is an artist and your father owns a business. And it sounds like you're doing both together now.
That's true. That's very true. I'm actually, personality wise, I think a fairly good blend between the two of them as well. But I'm not going to reveal what sibling I am, which that would mean.
So then we'll talk about pants, and we'll talk about what lineup we are in.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering too, like, obviously it's rewarding work, there's no question there, but it's really tough. And like in writing, people will say, I don't like to write, I love having written. Is there some of that that applies to animating? Like, I don't like animating, I love having animated? Or like, because some of it's grueling, it's time consuming, your back hurts, there's, a lot of physical pain involved, as well as I'm sure like psychological pain. Like, how do you remind yourself, hey, I love this? Or do you even need to?
I mean, yeah, I think it is a bit of the written, it's the playback. It's when I mean, not entirely. I do like the process of it, but when you watch something that you've made, it's like parents who are like, I had a baby and it was the worst experience. Giving birth is the worst experience ever, but then you have the baby. This is a terrible analogy.
I love birthing. I love having a baby as mothers.
I think it makes you forget quickly is really the point I was making. Okay. The pain of the process fades pretty quickly once you're watching what you've made, because it's every single time it's like this crazy magical thing that you're watching that is adorable and really I don't know, childlike in some way, even if the content that you're making isn't your favorite, whatever it is. It's just like you've made this weird nothing move around magically on its own. That's I don't know, it's this odd little special thing to connect you with your childhood fantasies. I don't know how to say that properly, but
It's fine. Do you feel like you are connecting with a childhood part of yourself every time you animate?
yeah, I think so. It's an odd combination of it's like a weird dressing up and you're using this little puppet.
Yeah, it's like
Uh,
pretend, but like outside of your head and sort of outside of your body, but you're like
mhm.
really
Yeah,
feeling
and
pretend.
there's a pretty it's a tedious process, but it's like oddly a quick payoff. Like even if you, I don't know, you need a ton of patience, and I think it's developed my patience quite a bit, which is something. But it I don't know, you watch back even a couple of frames of something you've shot and you can foresee where it is going to go, or it
Right.
just gets you excited enough to carry on. So it's like a rewarding process during the process as well as seeing it at the end. So it's both the writing and the written. I guess I'm contradicting what I said before.
Oh, it makes sense. Do you have, I don't know if I should ask this. What a great way to open a question. But like, do you have any kind of nightmare stories that you can share where things just went horribly wrong? Or even earlier when you were talking about the business aspect of stuff and you're like, we got
Sure.
burned and then we learned, like,
Yeah,
how
yeah.
did you get burned and then what did you do?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think we've always, I think it's a huge lesson in trusting your gut, because every time we have a bad experience, we knew it before. We're like, I don't know if this project is going to go well or get a funny vibe from this person. But carry on anyway, because I don't know, you never know. Some people just aren't warm at the beginning, or who knows.
Hmm.
Sometimes the people that you think are not going to be great end up being great. So
Sure.
it yeah, but occasionally we had one that canceled a project on the day of, we were all prepped and ready to shoot, and the project got canceled, and they wanted to make it, because we were small, they wanted to take advantage of us and say like, okay, we're canceling it, that's all, no repercussions on their end as far as paying the bill. So
So
very rude, but we didn't have any fine print in any of our documents to prevent that from happening. So that was a huge one that we're like, okay, now we need to write that, I don't know, after a certain, you can probably hear my neighbor's dog now.
yes.
It's fine.
Hello, dog.
After certain stages in the project, you need to be able to bill a certain amount. This is
Like what? What do you mean? Like stages, like time or like
no, process stages. So say after a story, we make sure every single time now that our storyboards are approved, like signed off, approved. After that stage, a certain percentage of the subtotal is due. And we take a deposit in the beginning now, which was also a huge lesson that we learned that we should do. And that's just for canceling. I mean, we don't ask people for money as the project goes on. We do at the very beginning just to like secure our time and maybe buy materials or rent some equipment, whatever we need.
Find that if like a client is like not cool with a deposit and stuff, that's like a big red flag, and you're like, okay, cool, let's not work together.
Yeah, we've come across a few things like that. Like, if I don't know if anybody hasn't been okay with a deposit, but some haven't been okay with us sharing the work, which is value to us for getting new jobs and just growing our portfolio. And we haven't really known how to deal with that situation, as far as like, okay, so we should charge more because we want to do this job, but we won't be able to show people that we did this work, which is generally a middleman. Like if somebody's working with if we're not working with the business, somebody else is working with the business, they don't want.
How do you even
know.
like, if you're going to charge more, how do you just pull a number out of your ass? I guess you're like, okay, now that's $517 more, or like, do you have a markup that you're like, how do you even become comfortable with these numbers?
We are still learning these that answer. Yeah, it for so long it was just the numbers out of the butts and seeing what would stick and what would not, seeing who would say yes and who would say no, and then we learn from those amounts. That's such a challenge, and we are not by nature or by we're not business people. We didn't go to school for business either. So all of these things are difficult for us. The pricing has been a huge challenge for us from the beginning and remains a challenge.
Yeah, I feel like that's the biggest one for most small studios. Like there's, even for big studios or established studios that have been around for a long time, because you never know what's on the client end. You don't know their budget. You want to get the job. Like,
yeah,
you know, if you really want the job because you think it's really creative, you might be willing to take a lower price. Or if it's boring work, you want to hire, like, I don't know, like people have even contacted me and they're like, hey, would you be willing to do this thing for this amount? And I'm like, no way, sorry. Or like, or they've been like, how much do you charge for this? I'm like, here's how much I would honestly charge for my time. And they're like, oh, no, thanks. But sometimes they're like, oh, great. So it's like, do I undervalue my time and money just to work on something? Or do I try to stick to my guns and only take projects that will value who I am and what I can create? And hopefully that leads to more of the same stuff.
For sure. And also just knowing how you value yourself, like knowing that answer is
Totally. And stop motion's so weird because you can spend like, I don't know if you've come across this, but like you can spend 10 hours on a project or 1,000 hours on the same project, depending on the level of like skill you want to put into it. Or like, you know, you could create backgrounds or have no backgrounds. Like it's art, right? So it's like,
yeah,
it can go anywhere.
and it can go something you think is going to be extremely simple can go horribly wrong, but you won't know until you are shooting it what the issues are going to be. So yeah, I don't have the answer for that one, or a good one anyway. I would love some advice for the pricing part.
Listen to the next episode of this podcast where I'll find somebody to give you some advice.
Okay.
Are there any topics or questions you want us to ask you about from your experience or where you're heading that we haven't brought up yet?
Ooh.
Like Nicole's dying to ask about pants.
I was just gonna say, I am
really wanting to get to the pants. It's fine. If you have a pants thing you want to say, that's totally okay.
On a scale of forks to chips, how do you feel about pants, Nicole?
Oh, definitely hard chips all the way.
Wonderful.
Definitely a chips pants man, for sure. I don't know if anybody would answer who would feel forks about pants. I mean,
who's to say?
Not to judge anyone who would feel forks about pants.
I don't know. My first thought was forks, but now I'm reconsidering because of the social pressure going on right now.
Sure.
You should.
Is there a reason we're talking about pants specifically?
Nicole?
Is it time, Terry, to talk about your pants?
Sure, it's time to talk about the pants. The real reason we're here. This whole podcast.
Yeah, for the whole
pants o'clock.
I've come here today for sure. It's just this has been so built up, but really it's just that Terry has lent me a pair of his pants that I've been wearing around for a while. And actually, I didn't tell this to you guys earlier, but so I'm assuming most of the people are listening. You mentioned that and not actually watching this, but I was out and about today wearing this sweater. For people who can't see, it's very loud and it's very colorful and it's, I don't know, it's maybe you would call it ridiculous looking. I love it. And typically when I wear it, people are like, hey, you know, that's a great sweater. Like not to, you know, but that's what they say. So Terry, I was wearing your pants and then I was also wearing this sweater. I went out to vote and then I did some errands, whatever, who cares? And this random gentleman approached me and was like, hey, that's a great sweater. And I was like, well, thank you. Thank you, sir, for saying that. And then I just assumed that we were both going to go on with our days. And then I can swear, right? Because I want to quote.
Swear.
But he was like, actually, I love your whole outfit, like the pants, your sandals, everything. He was like, it just seems like you don't give a fuck. What he said to me. And then I was like, is this a neg? Like, I don't know. Like, are we falling in love? I'm not really sure. Anyway, I just don't think that exchange would have happened were it not for your pants.
Oh, thank you. They're just like generic blue sweatpants that have been in my closet for like 10 years. They don't even fit me very well.
I haven't seen the pants yet.
Well, okay, it's very dark in my hole of an apartment, but yeah, like there's like
yeah, that's tough to see. They look like bell bottoms.
I mean, I'm like what, 6'4", and you're like, how tall are you?
I'm 5'2.5". So
you can imagine they're baggy on her.
I do have to roll them up at the bottom, but I also do. I'm going to the East Coast at the end of the week, and with your permission, I would love to take your pants to the East Coast because they want it. They've been telling me they want to see the ocean. They want to just kind of like travel.
They should be in the ocean for a second.
Yeah,
let
pick
them
up some salt water.
Yeah, could I do that?
Yeah, 100%. And like send me pictures of these pants. Yeah, there's like a movie, The Sister of the Traveling Pants. Well, this is just right. Terry's traveling pants,
Yeah, I just think it would be even funnier too if I wasn't wearing the pants and it was just like I just threw the pants in the ocean for a brief period, took a picture, took your pants out to a restaurant, gave it their own seat. Like,
I mean, you can also just let them float away. Like maybe they'll come into contact with like a blue whale or something.
If they come back, then they're Terry.
And they're yours. Yeah. I guess it's it.
I'm like vacationing in like Mexico on this resort, and my pants just float up.
Oh my God, they float onto you like Terrence from the show.
Oh no! Wow. There's a scene in the show we just animated where pants float down onto one of the characters because he doesn't have pants. But this can happen. Wow.
But the character's name is Terry Terrence.
Yes.
That's a crucial part of the story.
Yes. Also, I'm the one who animated him saying his name is Terry Terrence.
Nice.
Terrence Terry, sorry. Terrence? No, it's Terry Terrence.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
His middle name is Terrence. And it was just coincidence, just happened to be me. And I was like, he. It's also Terry. Wow, I'm so glad that this whoever's left listening to this podcast at this point.
Yeah, if you've hung on till this point, like congratulations for the pants chat, the Terry Terrence. Also, we need your sibling reveal. Is now the time?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Trying to know. So, Kyla, where are you? The youngest? Are you the middle? Are you the oldest?
I'm the youngest.
Whoa.
I'm the middle.
And obviously I'm the oldest then.
And we're all unrelated.
Yeah, we're not all family.
But we could trick you.
In a sense, I feel sort of kin to you guys after doing this podcast, but no, we share no blood.
Who knows?
Your pants, but no.
Who knows where these
bloodlines
lead?
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, no, it's not. No.
All right, I'm getting a feeling maybe we can wrap things up.
Like, I mean, if we did like ancestry.com or something, maybe if we, gave our blood to the government and all that shit.
Yes, this is where I was leading. Should we dive into a new podcast about blood?
Yes, yeah, specifically just for us, where we go on a journey to discover our true heritages and how they're
can it be called Blood ? It's just for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't see why not.
Yeah.
I'm a positive, so just for all you listeners, if you ever need any blood.
So am I.
Well, great.
Now we can all do transfusions as well.
Yeah, blood it's just for us is pretty anti-transfusion. Let's not be called that.
Yeah, that's so true. Well, whatever. We'll work on the title. This is it's a placeholder.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Are there any other topics or questions that you guys think would be valuable for our listeners to hear?
I think that it's valuable for our listeners to know that you're wonderful, Terry.
Yeah.
Oh.
Thank you. So true.
Thank you so much. You know what? Being part of this production has introduced me to so many new friends like you guys that I'm just so happy that I was part of it. Like, And we still hang out, which is what up. We're like going to the beach with 100% chance of rain in 2 days.
Right.
So, we'll see if that works.
Good idea.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing, your journey and for letting us grill you about how you feel about things and what you learned and all the cool things that you've done, which I think is amazing. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yay. And thank you, Nicole, for also helping me host.
Yeah.
Yay. And if you're listening and you want to reach out or get in touch with, or that's the same thing, or follow Kyla, you can do so by looking her up on Instagram under See You on the Moon. And I'll include that link in the description of this video. And that's all for now. So thank you so much for listening. Okay, bye. The music for this podcast was composed by Will Farmer and the graphics by Daniel Abensauer. I encourage you to look them up if you enjoyed their work.